So that being the case, I don't think there's any question Stetson Bennett's going to start the game. What do you think the circumstances should be in pulling Stetson Bennett? What would this game need to look like and his performance need to look like for you to make a move? And more importantly, what do you think Kirby Smart's thinking?
Well, obviously, I have wildly different opinions of the quarterback situation than what the coaching staff at UGA does. However, I would say that if there's ever a time where Georgia goes down 2 scores, and if one of those is caused by Stetson throwing a pick six, I think he needs to immediately come out of the game. Stetson Bennett has been one of those quarterbacks where he's not going to rally from behind. We've seen that this season when he's been up and ahead. That's great. But the moment that he got into a dogfight with Alabama, it was pretty much over from the start. So for me, if I was the coach, if he goes down 2 scores, especially if one is a result of a pick six, for lack of a better way of saying it, at that point you kind of have to throw some caution to the wind. Damn the torpedoes and ramming speed. You've got to pull it out. All your stops. I would rather be down 14 points and see us put in JT Daniels and then lose the game than I had leave Stetson Bennett in and lose the game anyway. So to me, at least if we lost with JT Daniels, it will quell a lot of the kind of gnashing of teeth in the Georgia fan base as to why didn't we play JT Daniels? Because if you were to put JT Daniels in and you see him struggle and fail, you could say, okay, that's why Kirby Smart has Stetson Bennett in. That's why. However, I don't believe that even if Georgia's down 14 or 17 points, that Kirby Smart's going to pull him. I think it'll take an injury or illness before they'll pull Stetson Bennett. I think in Kirby Smart's mind, he's the most experienced. He does have mobile feet. He's been at all the practices. He's familiar with calling the plays. He just had a bad game. So that being the case, I think they're going to let Stetson play it, good, bad, or otherwise, and I think that may be a mistake.
The Bennett mobility is without question that he has that over JT Daniels. There was no question that he's played more recently against good competition, of course. So those are two things you can check off for Stetson Bennett. But as you size up these two players based on everything you've seen, everything you've read, how do you compare them otherwise, the good and the bad?
Well, Stetson Bennett is a mobile quarterback enough. He's mobile enough. And I think sometimes he used to try and make too much with his feet. Now, I think, especially in the Alabama game, there was a couple of times he gave up on the run a little too soon. One particular time, he probably could have picked up nearly a first down and kind of throws a lackluster hodgepodge of a pass downfield, and it doesn't really make contact, and it ended up being, Georgia had to punt it away. One thing I will point out, a lot of Georgia fans don't necessarily know this. I'm kind of a stats junkie. Stetson Bennett is currently the 4th top rusher on the team, ahead of 4-star running back Kendall Milton. He has fewer attempts, more yards, and more yard average. Just as many touchdowns rushing as Kendall Milton. And Kendall Milton is known for being a great running back. So in my opinion, Stetson Bennett's mobility certainly helps him. His all-purpose yards, he's approaching 3,000. Now, JT Daniels, I think he has a much better passing efficiency style than Stetson Bennett. I've seen JT Daniels make every pass, and very few times has he thrown a bad pass. The times I have seen him throw a bad pass, it's because he was injured. There's a certain type of rhythm that the offense seems to develop whenever JT is behind center. And that particular player that seems to make the most out of that is George Pickens, which will be back for this game. JT Daniels has one incredible arm for strength and downfield throws. He can stand on the 40-yard line on our side and throw to the goal line. So take into consideration how big of a pass that has to be, and he can hit a runner in stride. It's incredible. Now, on top of that, the flip side is that because Stetson can't make those throws, it takes away part of the offense where we have elite speed. Amari, one of those guys, they can absolutely take the top off of the defense. They can really become a deep ball threat, but you've got to have a quarterback who can throw it down there. What I've noticed a lot of times, especially with UGA fans, is that, oh, he made a deep ball pass. Great. But did you watch what the receiver had to do? Most of the time, the receivers had to either stop running and come back to the ball or slow his route down significantly. That allows safeties and cornerbacks to close the gap, and this reduces your ability to make a touchdown on those big gamble plays like that. When you can make an explosive play and you can if you can get a good wide receiver who's a step or two ahead of a defensive back or ahead of a corner, it's a touchdown. The speed is too much for him to overcome at 2 or 3 steps as fast as those guys run. If the receiver has to stop, that's basically where he gets tackled.
Okay, this briefly off the Georgia-Michigan topic, but I just wanted to address this. So it just me, Tim79, making a comment about the Hawaii Bowl being canceled. So the money's not made in the stands. It's just me, Tim79. The money is made on television. So sure, does a bowl make more money if there's 75,000 people that bought tickets and go to the concessions and buy merchandise? Absolutely. That's a significant amount of money. But it's a drop in the bucket compared to, oh, we had to cancel the game. Even if there are only going to be 12,000 people in the stands, they don't care that much about that. We had to cancel a game. All the advertising money for that bowl game on Christmas Eve, gone, shot. Millions of dollars, way over anything that they're going to earn at the park for the game. All right.
To talk about the funding of it, let's say that you have a top tier football team like Georgia, and I'll say Texas. And I know some people are going to say Texas is not top tier. Texas is top tier when it comes to revenue.
Sure.
That team generates a lot of revenue. If we go back to 2018 and we wind the clocks back and we don't really pay too much attention to what's happened here recently, kind of throw those numbers out. If you go back to 2018, Georgia will make anywhere from $140 to $180 million a year, and that's just the Georgia program. Imagine what they're making on the TV contracts. It's extremely large.
I used to give tours at ESPN, and basically they were tours of executives that would be coming in from other companies or whatever, and I just give them a tour of the production facilities and so forth. And one of my favorite questions was, because I knew that this would stump most people, because they're looking at all the equipment and the fancy equipment and the production trucks and looking at all that. And I'd say, what do you think the most expensive portion of doing sports television is? And they would start naming off all the equipment and all that stuff and how much money people get paid. I'd say, oh, that costs a lot of money. You could go in one little master control and it cost $1 million, but I'd say just the rights fees to broadcast the NFL and the NBA and college football. That's where the biggest price tag is.